It's autumn in New England. The hazy skies of summer are now more often blue than white. In wetlands, the first frost has bitten sensitive ferns. The plant kingdom is dressing up for its bittersweet season finale. Most breeding birds have migrated. Some kingfishers will remain as long as there's open water where they can fish. Others, such as cedar waxwings, are gorging on fruits. Turkeys are stripping seeds from grasses and gobbling acorns. All creatures are preparing for winter. Chipmunks pad underground dens with leaves and stock up on acorns and other seeds. Days are still warm enough to hunt for a juicy grasshopper meal, though. From the woods around the pond, some male spring peepers are vocalizing again in what is known as the fall echo. They might do this because light and temperature conditions are similar to those of spring. But they're preparing to hunker down for the winter. Their bodies will produce a sugary antifreeze that will protect their cells from ice damage. They'll bury themselves under leaves, logs, or mud and remain cold and inactive until spring. Muskrats have built lodges similar to those of beavers, but without sticks. Most northern wood ducks will migrate south, but some will remain if the winter is mild. Wood ducks are shy and serene. Geese, just the opposite. Most warblers have already vacated northern regions, though some are still passing through. Most northern woodpeckers are still here and will likely stay through the winter, from the small downy to the largest of all, the pileated. The pleasantly brilliant days of autumn give way to more somber, clouded skies. Colors literally fall from above. Beavers have been working to build brushy winter food caches just outside their lodges. This one seems a bit skimpy, while this one appears to be more substantial. There is still animal life to be seen at the pond. Mallards and hooded mergansers. You may be lucky enough to spot some migrating American coot. Old, dry otter scat full of fish scales says they've been here. Fresh scat says they still are. Now, a couple weeks later, many trees have gone bare. Well-hidden bird nests are now easy to spot in leafless trees and shrubs. Surprisingly, you might still find an active marbled orb weaver or pumpkin spider, but not for much longer. Beaver dwellings vary in size. Some enterprising beavers built a duplex. Another, a bungalow with a nice food supply. Here's one with a well-stocked pantry, and a more rustic version. With the dieback of green plants, the beaver's diet now relies more heavily on bark. The first ice has formed on the pond. This begins a much leaner time for beavers. They could soon be locked into months of life in the lodge and below the ice. The fertile fronds of ostrich fern are now brown and dead. Fruits of staghorn sumac fuel eastern bluebirds. And robins. Black-capped chickadees are skilled at finding any remaining fruit. The first snowfall. A young sharp-shinned hawk is on the hunt. A more experienced adult Cooper's hawk has already been successful. As the storm intensifies, finding food is even more of a challenge. The magic stillness of a beaver swamp in a gentle snowfall. A young beaver surfaces through one of the few holes kept open. It seems a bit bewildered by this change in its surroundings. It brings up some aquatic plant stem to munch on. Doesn't look very appetizing, but then neither does tree bark. And when you're hungry, there's a new bank lodge here. Something different would be good. Ah, roots. They do make it look tasty. The family does its best to keep plunge holes open so they can feed above the ice. You can sometimes see them coming and going under the ice. It helps to have some weight if you're on icebreaker duty. Alongside the lodge, a beaver has deposited some castoreum to declare ownership. There's something a bit out of place here. Rather amazingly, great blue herons are hardy enough to endure here, as long as they can feed. Virginia opossums, our only marsupials, are not well adapted to northern winters. They don't hibernate in winter and often suffer frostbite on ears, tail, and feet. Yet they often do manage to survive somehow. Activity doesn't come to a halt at nightfall. It may increase. A muskrat heads to its den with food. Newly fallen snow is irresistible to otters. Having felled a tree, one of the resident beavers busies itself hauling branches to the lodge. With the pile cleaned up, it stops for a snack. It smells something in the air. Beavers have a very keen sense of smell. There it is again. The vagaries of New England winters. Rain knocks down much of the snow. The new bank lodge is growing with the continuing addition of sticks and mud. Repeated trips are made. Home wasn't built in a day, but not for lack of trying. That tail is fat storage that supplies energy to keep warm. It will decrease in size over the winter as the fat is used up. A muskrat seems interested in the activity. It may be living in the lodge right alongside the beavers. It's been digging a tunnel under the bank, causing a leak. A beaver discovers the leak. The sound of running water is a stimulus that triggers beavers to plug up leaks. A second beaver arrives to do just that. A stick, a bit of mud, and some sleight of hand. All fixed. There's thin ice where the sun has warmed shrub and tree stems. It's a convenient place for a muskrat to surface. It knows there are pin oak acorns here. Most are empty shells or frozen into the ice. Found one. And if danger threatens, later it leaves its bank den in search of other food. It's been warm enough for the beavers to keep access holes open. Beavers often weigh their food cache down with less desirable species on top, such as the white pine seen here. The cache not only makes food accessible under the ice, it also makes it more palatable by leaching some tannins out of the wood. Even in warm weather, beavers often soak branches for a few days to leach out tannins. The lodge has a vent hole in the roof. Escaping water vapor often forms frost around it. Even in winter, there are intriguing sounds, such as beavers in their lodge. And vividly colorful sights. A merlin, one of our smaller falcons, scans the pond. The local crows don't appreciate the intrusion. No meal this time. Although other seasons might offer more action, there are still fascinating stories to be read in Winter's book. A nest waiting for the osprey's return. You might be lucky enough to find great horned owls using it. There are usually mystery stories written in the language of tracks. A mink hunting the shoreline. Otter tracks crisscrossing the pond. That may lead to a rewarding sight, an otter having lunch. Or a fisher. All brought to us by this unassuming environmental engineer. In just a few weeks, spring will be here again, along with all the usual players. A beaver dam causes a cool stream to spread out across a larger area. Water is warmed, creating a different habitat. Some soil around the narrow stream is saturated with water, but a wider pond saturates a much larger area, recharging aquifers and raising the water table to the benefit of many more plants. Water held in surrounding soil can warm winter pond water and cool it in summer. A fast-moving stream drains the land, carries water and nutrients away, and can erode stream banks. A beaver pond slows the water flow, reducing erosion. Fast-moving water scours the stream bottom. A slowed down stream allows a bit of material to accumulate. If slowed down further, the stream won't sweep away large debris such as leaves and sticks. In the pond, however, even tiny particles drop out, building sediment and a rich muck environment. Underwater vegetation increases. Various species of fish begin to use the pond, increasing in number, while others continue to use the rest of the stream, which benefits from a more constant flow downstream during droughts. More aquatic plants take hold, such as water lilies. Insect life increases dramatically, providing a food source for many animal species, from fish to birds to mammals. mosquito numbers actually decrease in beaver ponds due to predation. Amphibians move in. Some, such as these American toads, just breed in the pond, then live on land. Reptiles populate the pond. Muskrats make a home here. Mink frequent the pond. And otters regularly feed and rest here. Bird life abounds here, especially in spring. The pond creates an ecological trade-off. Fewer trees, but a greater diversity of plant life with the increased light and water availability. Compared to the forest, more flowering plants are found here, supporting pollinator communities. There are more shrubs and herbaceous growth along the pond margins than in the forest. These provide cover and food for wildlife. The many dead trees provide open, accessible perches for large raptors. And nesting sites for great blue herons, tree swallows, and others. When the beavers have exhausted their food source and move on, the dam begins to break down and eventually the pond will drain, leaving a wet meadow that ushers in a new suite of plants and animals. Plants like boneset, jewelweed, goldenrods, asters, and turtleheads, among many others. The wet meadow will continue to dry and will likely become forest again. Early settlers found these meadows to be ideal sites to plant their crops. Soil there was deep and rich, resulting from years of mucky sediment building up at the bottom of a beaver pond. That, plus the fact that there was a stream nearby and the land was already cleared of trees, made the beaver meadows highly attractive. Storms that blow down forests create openings that start the process of forest regeneration. But those sites, with all their downed timber, differ ecologically from beaver meadows that are clear of large debris. The open meadows, with their thick layers of moist, decomposed organic material, are carpeted with green herbaceous growth. Like any habitat, some species are favored over others. From moose to woodchucks. From fox to rabbits. From butterflies to hawks. Coyotes to kestrels. Snakes to spiders. Beavers turn small wooded streams into highly productive wetlands, which create conditions that allow an enormous range of interdependent organisms, both plant and animal, to grow and thrive. At times, a beaver pond can offer tranquility and serenity for reflection. At other times, they offer drama that gives wildlife its name. There's almost always something interesting to see around a pond. Sometimes it's very quiet, and sometimes not. This industrious, unassuming creature was heavily trapped early on in North America. It was driven to extinction in many areas. Tens of millions of beavers lived in North America before European settlement. In the late 1500s, explorers began trading with natives for beaver pelts. As early as 1621, colonists sent furs to Europe. In 1635, William Pynchon founded Springfield, Massachusetts as a fur trading post, dominating the Connecticut River Valley fur trade. By the mid-1600s, more than 2,000 beaver pelts per year were shipped from Springfield. By the early 1700s, beavers were extirpated in Massachusetts. They were reintroduced there 2 centuries later in 1928. An estimated population of several million in the Adirondacks shrank to 15 animals by 1900. The best-known fur trading outfit was the Hudson's Bay Company, which would eventually own 3 million square miles across North America. Beaver fur was used to make fur coats and hats, among many other things. Fur trappers made their way west across North America, taking millions of beavers in the 18th and 19th centuries. Beavers and the search for the Northwest Passage were significant drivers of development of Northern America. John Jacob Astor started in the fur trade in the late 1700s. By 1830, he became rich on beaver pelts, which yielded a 900% profit in London. Thankfully, through reintroductions and trapping restrictions, beaver populations have recovered very rapidly. We've come to understand that this creature is far more important to us than just the value of its fur. It's good to have them back.